Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, from wherever you are joining us from all around the world. My name is Omolola Alfred. I'm a business application developer and Microsoft MVP in the business application ecosystem. Good morning once again. I'm so excited to bring to you the second class in the finance and operation training that which is the Dynamics 365 Nigerian community, has been having. This is our second class, and I'm not alone today. I will be moderating the class, but the trainer for today is Chiamaka. Hi, Chiamaka.
Molola. Hi, Molola. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our viewers and students today. I'm glad to have you here. My name is Chemaka and I am a Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation Consultant. And I'll be your trainer for today.
Awesome. All right. So I'll just allow Chiamaka do magic while yeah. So over to you, Chiamaka. I will be
Thank you.
around in case you need me. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Good morning once again. My name is Chamaka Ichoko, and I'm a Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation Consultant. And welcome to the second class of the Supply Chain Management Training Series. And today I will be taking you through the inventory management module. Last week, or rather 2 weeks before, one of our other colleagues had taken us through the products management module, how to create a product, how to assign the item groups and item model groups to a product. So today we'll be continuing from that point, because when you have a product, that means you have inventory that you have to manage, right? Awesome, good. So this is going to be our agenda for today. We'll be looking at an introduction to Dynamics 365 inventory management. We'll also be looking at the item arrival overview. We'll be considering the quality management, inventory journals, and also the reservation of inventory quantities. Today is going to be interesting, and I'll try as much as possible to break down these concepts to the barest minimum so that we can all flow along throughout the course of the training. Also, don't forget to drop your questions in the chat where whenever you have them, and I can always pick them up and we'll continue the conversation. By the way, if you're here, please let us know where you're joining from, and then it is good to have you here. All right, so proceeding, we have the Dynamics 365 inventory management. And I will say that one of the key features of an effective and efficient ERP is inventory management, right? And so whether you're a manufacturer, distributor, retailer, it doesn't matter. Inventory management is key, it is paramount. Now, inventory management refers to activities that are involved in ordering, storing, using, and selling of a company's inventory, right? This usually involves overseeing the management of raw materials, especially for production companies, the components, and finished products. I mean, and also alongside with warehousing. So inventory management and warehousing are a lot interchangeable, right? Because you can't have a warehouse if you don't have inventory to store, right? So it's usually along with warehousing and processing of these items. An organized inventory management system is crucial for businesses because it boosts efficiency, it reduces errors, and increases customer satisfaction. Because I'm very sure that a lot of us get pissed off when we order items and what is delivered to us isn't what we've ordered. We have this thing that will say what I ordered versus what I got. Yeah. Yes, and so one way to reduce having scenarios like that is having an efficient and effective inventory management system. Now, with the inventory management system, we're going to you use them to perform the following tasks: your inbound operations, quality assurance, inventory activities, and outbound operations, and as well as inventory control, which is what I have on the system on the image that we have here. Now, these different operations are all the operations that are around our inventory, and we're going to be looking at one out of these different steps of the inventory management process. We'll be looking at item arrival overview, as I mentioned in our agenda. We'll also be looking at quality assurance management and inventory operations throughout the course of this training. So we'll be starting off with the item arrival overview. Now, this is a feature, right, that allows us to know what is expected, what items we're expecting in the warehouse today. It helps us to plan, basically, right? Because I know that every morning we make our to-do list, what I'm supposed to do, what I have to achieve, and all of that. That's the same way the item arrival overview feature helps us to plan in the warehouse. Now, it helps the managing clerk or the warehouse manager or the inventory manager to know what items are supposed to be received into the warehouse. And it also helps us to guarantee that items are tracked from the very first moment, from the very first time they get into the warehouse. So it also helps the warehouse manager and warehouse workers achieve an overview of expected work, helps them to plan effectively and assign the right number of resources to carrying out that process. So I'll be navigating to the Dynamics 365 environment so that I can also show us how we can carry out this process, this item arrival on the system. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Omolola, can you see my screen? Are we there?
Yes, I can see your screen. Please go ahead.
Great, great. All right, awesome. Also, this is a trial environment, this is a test environment. So some of the data here are a bit woozy, but still gets the job done. And I'll try as much as possible to make sure that you understand what I am saying and where I'm coming from. At this point, I know that we're very familiar with this dashboard. Like it's we can even see it in our sleeps now. Okay, so to navigate to the inventory management module or the item arrival overview, so we go to the modules and navigate to inventory management, which is here. I've had this tab opened up before, that's why it just opened up this way for me. So I click on arrival overview, which is under the inbound orders. So if I were to collapse this, this is where I would find this inbound overview. So I have arrival overview. Now, the arrival overview, in my opinion, I would say it's more like a report most of the time, right? That's what I will see. That's how I will explain it to someone because it lets us know anything that lets you know the situation of things to me is a report, right? So this is also set up in a certain way that you can create your own personal arrival overview profile. That way you assign whatever concept you want to it, how you want it to go. We want it to show you based on items that should be coming in 30 days time, items that were past 30 days time, but that is not what we're going to be doing right now. So I'll be using the ones that are currently existing on the system so that we don't waste a lot of time. Okay. So in that case, I'll be going back to the arrival overview profile, and I'll be selecting this profile name, inquiry, and I'm saying, show me all the lines. Let me know what I am expecting. But I also want to see it only for the transaction type purchase order. So I'm going to leave this toggled on while I turn off every other thing because I don't want to see them. I only want to see for purchase orders, not for production orders, not for transfer orders or any other type of transaction type. So I'll turn this off. Just take a while. Okay. And this. All right, great. Now, once we've done this, right, I'm going to say update. Please update me based on this information that I've provided. updates show me only transactions that are purchase orders and are likely to be arriving today. So with this, I can see that all of these are purchase orders, the warehouses they're supposed to be going into, the quantity well. So it also lets, so if I select all of this, right? When I say select all, for instance, in the case where all of these items are now supposed to be arriving today, but that never happens, right? So for in the case where all of them are arriving today, the warehouse manager is able to select all to know the total quantity he's expecting. So the quantity is going to be like 5,465, right? So that also lets him know what kind of resources he needs. Would he be needing a forklift? Is it going to be needing 3 or 4 different people to lift those boxes? Are they going to lift in the pallets and all of that? So this basically provides them information to know what they're supposed to do at the time these orders begin to arrive. But in the case of this training, excuse me, in the case of this training, right, would only be working with just one purchase order. So I will clear all of this. I'll clear this and I would select one of the purchase orders here. Okay, so I think I'll be selecting this one 21, or no, I'll select 60, right? Okay, so I select this and I say, all right, this is, oh, okay. 16 has a lot of items in it, so I'll just go for one that has fewer items. Yes, I think this has fewer items, yes. So this is just one line, right? So I'll select this. Now, the arrival journal, right, helps us to register the receipt of these items. So when I say start arrival, it creates a journal and it helps us to register the receipt of this item. And when there's location set up, right, based on the warehouse management system that this organization has adopted, then it begins to look for what location this item is going to be placed in. But I don't think this is specified for this particular environment. So I'll just click on start arrival and it goes on to show us what journal, what item arrival journal was created. Voila, so we have journal 45 of the type item arrival created. Now to see this, we would have to navigate to the journals, item arrival journal to see this particular journal. And to go to do this, we would navigate to modules and go to journal entries. And under journal entries, we have the item arrival journal and the item arrival. So I click on this and it brings me, and voila, we have journal 45 waiting for us here. So I select journal 45 to confirm that everything is okay and it is what I want and how I want it to be. Quantity is 2, correct, and it is going to the warehouse 21. Like I mentioned, location is not specified for this warehouse, but for other warehouses that have location specified, it will also have the location where this this item will be going into, excuse me. So we'll go on to, this is okay, so we'll validate. So validation lets us know if there are issues with our journaling is okay. If everything is fine, then we go ahead to post. Now, when we post, that means we've registered the arrival of this item into this warehouse. So the warehouse team is aware that 2 units, right, 2 units of an item from a particular purchase order is to be placed in certain locations, right? So this is what this journal does for us. So I click on post and I say, okay. And okay, so I'll go back to my presentation and yes, so that's for item arrival and In the course of when you receive your item, I don't know if you can see my slide. Yes, okay. Now, in the course of receiving your item, great. And in the course of receiving your item, there is something that would also do. When you go to the stores to purchase items from, excuse me, to purchase items, right? You begin to check for them to see for defects. Is this item in the best shape? Is it in the best form? Is this something that is going to give me value for my money because it's not looking as it should? Or you also look at for edible products, right? You begin to look out for the expiry dates, the shelf life, and stuff like that, right? These are also processes under quality management or quality assurance, right? This is where you're trying to like ensure that you have the best quality of that item. Now, also those warehouses also have to, or yes, these warehouses also have to carry out quality assurance or quality management in this case to ensure that whatever product they're receiving from their vendors are of the best form and quality. Because they already have a reputation at stake, they want to maintain such reputations. They want everything to remain as it is, right? They don't want their customers to come back to them and say, oh, you sold an item that is defective for me, as much as possible. So this is where quality management comes in, and it's a functionality in Dynamics 365 that allows for documenting and obtaining a specified quality level for items. Now in Dynamics 365, you begin to set out different parameters, or you want it to be this way. If it's not that way, you cannot accept this item, and you begin to have conversations with your vendor to either replace this item for you or take it back as a defective product. Sometimes you even begin to see quarantine orders are beginning to be made, where you now these items, or you put them aside so that you either sell them at a reduced cost because you don't want to lose entirely, right? Maybe because they have bad cartons, or there's a scratch, or there's a dent, and all of that. So this is all managed in the quality management and part of inventory management. A quality order can be generated in different business processes, right? When you have your purchase order, like I mentioned, the item is coming in, you are beginning to confirm if this item, or is this supposed to be in this shape? Is this supposed to be in this form? Is this the best quality that we can receive from this particular vendor? We also would want, when you're also selling, right? When you have a sales order, you're selling to your clients, you also want to confirm that you are giving your clients the best quality that you have in your warehouse at the time. So you also carry out this quality assessment. This item is in the best shape, is in the best form. Does it meet industry standards? Does it also meet our own standards and the way our products are supposed to be, right? Now, to use the quality management in Dynamics 365, we have to enable a particular parameters and a particular parameter, and I'll be navigating to Dynamics to show us how to navigate to this parameter. So to navigate to this parameter, we'll go to inventory management. Like I said, it's all interwoven, it's all connected. We'll go to setup, then go to inventory management parameters, right? So under the inventory management parameter setup, we go to quality management. Now here we are saying for every time we bring in an item, we want to use quality management. But most of the time, this is much more effective when you're using advanced warehouse management system, which allows you to specify, okay, for every time I pick up an item, do the quality check. You have assigned certain quality checks on the system so that it does that. Maybe you are a battery, maybe it's a battery selling business, right? You want to make sure that the acidity of the battery is maintained to a particular pH at every point in time. So all these are set up on this system. Then because you turn on this functionality every time that you use the warehouse management app, it has to run through that process to confirm that all of those qualities that you have set are in place, and when they are not in place, it automatically removes it from the batch and pushes it into a quality check order that the team can now go back and now begin to review one after the other. Okay. Now, when our quality order is done, we're sure about that, so we can now go ahead. And in the case that, excuse me, in the case where we now have items that are not up to quality or up to par, we want to discard them from our system for some reason, or for some, or we other have other items that we want to move around from one point to other. You have different warehouses in different parts of the country, in different areas, different parts of the state and city. So you want to move items from this point to that point and also track all of them. So that is where the inventory journals come into play. Right. And also the inventory journals are more like they are an accounting tool that allows us to post different physical inventory transactions. Also helps us to adjust our digital inventory to what we have physically. Also, in the case where you carry out a stock count, you want to know, oh, I have XYZ number of items in my warehouse, but that is not what is happening on the system. I'm running short, maybe physically, and I don't have the same number on the system. What do we do? How do we take it out of the system? You have to tally. And after maybe for some reasons you've checked and you can't seem to find out why there's that discrepancy. Maybe someone had posted a wrong journal twice or something, or maybe items were not brought in as they should be. You've been able to check that and confirm that, okay, these items have to be taken out of the system to maintain the true integrity of what you have, so that you don't want customers going to your website or ordering items and you tell them, oh yes, because you've shown that you have this item on your website, only for you to now come back to them and say, sorry, this is out of stock, right? It doesn't give it doesn't give the best it doesn't give the best impression most of the time. So if the item isn't available, you want to, if it's not available physically, it also shouldn't be on your system at every point in time. So that way we have this journal to take care of such discrepancies. Some of these journals include the movement journal, the inventory adjustment journal, the transfer journal, the item arrival journal, just as we had seen earlier. We have the production input journal, which is used for production. The production input journal is like the item arrival journal, but for when you have production orders, when it is a manufacturing business. You have the counting journal and they have the tab counting journal. So I would navigate back to the system to show us what some of these journals look like. Okay. So we'll still go back to our inventory management module, and I collapse all of these journal entries, right? We first started with the item arrival journal, so that's what I'm going to show you again. We've seen this already, and the item arrival journal I'd mentioned is used to register the receipt of items, and it can be created as part of an arrival management, or you can manually create a journal entry for it. You can do it manually, something that can be created manually. It mustn't always be linked to a process, but the ideal situation is to always have a link to a process, so that way you manage the entire process end to end. Also, you can use it to check for picking locations, as I mentioned earlier, depending on, so like for instance, this particular journal has a location specified. So that means whoever is picking up this journal at the time this journal is posted knows that this item is supposed to be going to this location in the warehouse. So you have your location, your warehouse specified based on bins, aisles, shelves, racks, right? So at this point, whoever picks up this item or receives this item knows straight up where they're supposed to place this item. So they go to this particular location and drop the item. It also helps for picking up of item easily, so that the warehouse management processes are a lot more seamless. Everyone knows where to find what and where to put what aside. So as I'd also mentioned, the production input journal also works like the item arrival journals, but it's only used for production orders. And the counting journals as item counting, it helps us. It's a journal that is used to correct current on hand inventory that is registered, right? So as I'd mentioned, when you've done your stock count, items are not aligning, everything, you're just wondering where everything is going through. So once it is set up and it's confirmed through certain approval processes that you want to take out these items from the system, so you begin to create a counting journal to specify the items that need to be taken out of the system. So also, it's important to define your counting inventory counting processes, right? So this the audit team knows how to define this, and based on what is defined, the audit finance team, based on what is defined, the policy that will be used to create journals like this. For a transfer journal, I know that sometimes we've gone to stores, right, and we've asked for, oh, I want this particular item, and someone, the store person or the salesperson tells you, we don't have it in this particular store, but we have it in XYZ store. Can we bring it to you here, or you want to go to XYZ store to pick it up? Now, in the case where you say, oh, I want to pick it up here, right? So what do? They use an item, a transfer journal, to move this item from the XYZ store to their own store. Now, what the transfer journal does is that it keeps track of where items moved from the issue location to the receipt location, so that if for any reason oh, I'm looking for this particular item, you can see a trace. It was moved from XYZ store to this particular store for sale. The item transfer journal usually looks at you have two locations, right? Two warehouses rather. You have the from warehouse and the to warehouse. Specify the warehouse, but this is the warehouse that wants to pick up this item. Let's see, we are using warehouse 12 here. Okay. And say okay. Warehouse 12, so we say new line. We want to transfer this item from it's also important to be sure that this warehouse actually has this item you're trying to transfer. That I did not check in this, but that's the best way to go about it. Let's say
All right,
you're going
Chamaka.
to also
So
another warehouse. Yes.
yeah, so I love everything that you have explained so far. I want to take a little break where I ask you some questions. We also
Okay.
have some questions online before we go ahead,
Oh,
right? Just so that
okay,
we
good.
are all
Great.
going, right? Okay, so first, from
Okay.
everything that you have explained so far, I understand that we use journal to manage and to mitigate against the discrepancies that we can see on the system. Yeah. So if we don't have something again
Yes,
if we don't have something again in stock, there is no need for us to have it on the
mhm,
system, right? So we have a question
correct.
here from Elijah
Okay.
that says that, please, for this inventory management system, do we have a place on the system where the customer can request for the item they need and it gets to the warehouse team for sorting and readiness? So this particular system, is it external facing? Can customers actually make a request? Is there a place where they can make a request?
So no, the customers make requests through sales orders, right? I make a
Uh-huh.
request, I want to purchase this item, so a sales order is created. But usually, how it works, I mean, and even e-commerce businesses is that what they do is to display certain XYZ. Let's say I have a store, and I have 50 units of this Surface Pro, right? And I only want to, because I'm trying to reserve 20 for a client or for another customer. We're also going to come back to the reservation of inventory quantities, but I want to reserve just so I only have 30 for sale to my online customers, right? So what they do is they specify the number that they have available, or they can even decide to have a dedicated warehouse for just online sales. with that dedicated warehouse, what they do is they share the information in that warehouse to their websites, right? So the website knows that they have 20 units, or rather 30 units of the Surface Pro 128 gigabytes. And that's why sometimes when you go on some of these websites, they tell you, oh, only one unit remaining. And that's because it is looking at the inventory quantity for the warehouse that is specified for the e-commerce or the website, the parts that you can see from your mobile phone, from your computers to do your online shopping. Because there's a particular warehouse that has been specified the quantity. So as people are purchasing from the website, right, the stock in that warehouse that is dedicated to the website begins to deplete. Except in the case if you want customer wants items delivered a certain way and all of that. That is where you begin to consider what's it called, B2B, right? More or less, or
Okay.
even direct delivery. Yes, direct delivery. Direct delivery is a situation where you are purchasing, but you don't own this inventory, like what we'll call drop shipping,
Mm-hmm.
more or less, right? So you purchase, you place an
Mm-hmm.
order to
Mm-hmm.
and the manufacturer now, okay, this makes this product. Instead of shipping it to you directly, it ships directly to the customer who has requested this item from you. So those are the ways that you can manage such situations. But if the customer wants it a certain way and wants to get it from you, it is only what you have put out or that you have in stock and that is on your website or your e-commerce store. That's the only thing that the customer can actually purchase, except in cases where you make provision for customers to specify if they want certain customizations done on those products.
Okay.
Elijah, I don't
So
know if this answers you.
yeah, I think the second part of his question has been answered. But you know that first part, um, can you like really explain how customers actually interface with the system? I don't know if you've touched on that because that's like the first part of
Okay,
his question.
okay, yes. So most times, what we have the video part of Dynamics 365. That's not usually my fault, but this is it, right? Usually it has, this is where you have the store, you have the store management, you have the channel deployment. Exactly, yes. See the inventory management, inventory goes here. It's kind of okay. Sorry, I need to here and close this. Okay, sorry.
You're breaking, Chamaka. Can you hear me?
Okay, I have somewhere
Hello,
that shows
Chamaka.
us what.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, I can.
Yes, I can hear you. You were breaking a bit. Can you go back to where you said there's a place that manages customer orders?
The inventory. Okay. So you have, this is the module retail and commerce, right? So the retail and commerce module, they have channels, channel deployment. So when you're creating your channels, the stores, right? But usually there's a front end part of this, and the technical guys will kind of there's some form of plugins that happen where they now link this stores, this website to what you have here on the system. So it's not like the front end part is not exactly managed by Dynamics 365. It's usually either you have like, if like you have Shopify, right? But you plug in Shopify to Dynamics 365. So your customer goes to Shopify, but what the customer is seeing is based on what you have here, the inventory levels you have here that you have specified for that particular Shopify store. So you description, then add a quantity. You are saying, oh, I'm only going to start at quantity one and end quantity 20 quantities. So when this quantity is exhausted, on Shopify, it says that you're out of stock for that particular product. I don't know if that answers the question.
Awesome. Dotun, Elijah Dotun, please let us know in the comment section if that answers your question. All right. So I have one more question for you, Chiamaka. So this is really beautiful. Thank you so much for coming to show us this here. My question is basically, so I see from your wealth of experience, yeah, I see how broad this is. You mentioned the part where one is your expertise and another is not. It shows how broad the whole Dynamics 365, even the supply chain, is right. But my question would be, from your wealth of
Yes.
experience, um, do you think so much that there are organizations that are like a lot of organizations are really using this Dynamics 365 supply chain? Do you think so many organizations are really using it? Right? Do you answer my question?
So what? Yes, I understand your question. So I think, yeah, the thing about Dynamics 365 is that the system is really robust, right? So because
Mm-hmm.
it's robust, most people use what is relatively important or what is useful to their business and the business processes that they run. So say for instance, a distribution company, for instance, might work with a lot of the management commerce, you get. So they don't have business with production and production control because they are majorly distributors, right? So it just varies business to business, industry to industry. For instance, you can have like a retail store, yeah, or a retail business make use of the retail and commerce function of the system, but not, they will definitely make use of inventory management, but not production, yes. But not production, not project management and accounting, not HR, right? Some outsourcing companies or outsourcing businesses will use majorly the HR module more than they will use some other modules. So it's dependent on what the business is about and what the business processes is.
Awesome. So, from your explanation, you're also saying that big organizations as well as small organizations can actually make use of this, but they will just use the module that they need. Yeah. So, what you're saying. Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Yes, that's what
Thank you
I'm
so much.
saying.
Please go ahead. We have about,
You're
say, 18 minutes more to end this class. Thank you so much so far. But go ahead.
okay, okay. I think I'm rounding up already. Yes, yes. So I think in the course of trying to explain or answer Elijah's question, I'd also mentioned um, briefly on reservation of inventory quantities, and that's the last part on our agenda. Reservation of inventory quantities. So what does reservation of inventory quantity mean? It means that for different reasons, right, we want to reserve inventory. Maybe you have a particular client that you know that this client wants XYZ products, and this product is limited in the market at the moment. So you want to satisfy this client because you have a long-standing relationship with this client, with this business. So you want to reserve this. So you're saying to your store, you're saying to your salespeople, no matter what you do, in all you do, you only have maybe 30 units to sell. The other 20 units have been reserved for ABC Company and ABC Company Limited. So that is what the reservation of inventory quantity does, right? There are several reasons, like I mentioned, there are several reasons for reserving this inventory. So, but you have the first ordered, first delivered, which means that the customers get available items in the same order which they place their orders. So in this case, you're saying whoever orders first gets the item delivered first. But there are sometimes when people make orders, in as much as they ordered first, they are not always the first people to, or they're not the first business that gets this item delivered to them. Also, for some certain reasons, like I mentioned, shortage of items due to long or unknown delivery time from the vendor. So certain customers are given first priority for delivery, and also certain items with serial numbers or batch numbers. Maybe say for instance you want to, for drug companies for instance, right, for them to be able to track how they delivered the drug, because, or even car dealers, car manufacturing companies, sometimes they want to be able to track where XYZ batch has gone to. That way it's easy for them to recall if they eventually find out that there's a defect in the product that they have pushed out in the market. So it's easy for them to recall, or because we know that we sent XYZ batch to clients 1, 2, 3, so that way it makes it a lot more easy for them to manage situation like that than selling from within a particular batch. They are selling to every Dick, Tom, and Harry. So for this reservation to happen, there are certain inventory reservation policies that have to be specified, and you have the first in, first out. That's like a more popular or more common approach. So that way you are saying first in of your items that come in has to go in. So no matter when, even if you received new stock today, you can't sell out of the new stock that you received today. The old ones have to be sold out, and that's also very helpful for companies that want to sell out their old stock first before the new stock, and also to recoup all the money that they've spent in getting those products in before the new stock that they have. There are also other inventory policies. You have the FIFO, that's the first expiry, first out. This is used by food manufacturing companies most of the time, or even food distribution, FMCG businesses. That way, before, so that items that are due to expire quick have to leave the warehouses first before all the other items that are available. There are so many other inventory reservation policies that exist, but all of these are based on what the business scenario is at the time. So I think this brings us to the end of the training, and I would like to know if we have any other questions, or yes, any other questions.
All right, thank you so much, Yamaka. Very, very informative and eye-opening session that you have shown us today. Right now we do not have any question at all in the comment section, but if you do have any question, please quickly type and let Yamaka answer your question before we call it a day. All right. So while we wait for questions, let me ask you one other question. So since you have told us that both big organizations and small organizations actually make use of different modules in the Dynamics 365, it means that the Dynamics 365 skill is one that one should have. F&O. But I just want you to really maybe talk about it in details, because we have Dynamics 365 BC, F&O, we have CRM, and we have different modules in all of this here. So, from your own wealth of experience and what you really know, which one would you really advise people to go for, or would you just advise them to, use the old Dynamics 365 or learn, any part of the Dynamics 365? But with respect to having a good skill and being able to get a job at a very good paying job, what would you advise relating to Dynamics 365?
Okay, that question is quite I'd say dicey. Well, not really dicey, but the question is, it's not going to be a one size fits all answer. Personally, I would say, or my understanding, or rather my approach to this, is that businesses are always going to exist no matter what happens. AI invasion and all of that, aliens coming from Mars and all of that, business are always going to exist, right? And because business are always going to exist, that means business would need a lot of support from all the people that they can get. So any of the Dynamics 365 applications, or yes, whether it's ERP, BC, or CRM, having a skill in any one of them not is not a waste of time, is not a waste of effort, is not a waste of resources, maybe trying to get certifications and all of that, because you are always going to be useful. You'll be found valuable at any point in time or wherever. The only thing is this, right? Individual strengths, individual preferences as well. There are people who prefer to just manage the customer relationship part of businesses, right? Those are people that might decide to go with, okay, you know what, I'm going to just manage, I'm going to just develop my skill myself and upskill on the Dynamics 365 CRM. Those are people that who are interested in just, okay, I need to just customer is satisfied at every point in time. The entire process for the customer is sweet, you know. Those are people that might decide to just focus on the CRM part. Some other persons will want to, like, you know what, I want to understand how these businesses work. I want to make sure that we're making profit. I want to make sure that we make data driven data driven decisions about the businesses, you know. We want to make sure that our purchasing, what are kind of products that we purchase are products based on customer demand, based on not just on not just on emotion, because we know that this item, we like the item, but you are all making this decision based on what you have available on the system. Now, people like that, I would say, can now tilt towards the ARP side of business or the BC. Now, BC and finance and operations all run on the same basic principles of accounting and businesses, right? It's just that you have one that is majorly for super small businesses, sometimes I would say, or who just want, or businesses that just want very little out of the whole. They just want to manage their business. They just want to have general ledger. They want to manage their general ledger. They want to manage their sales. They want to manage their their purchase orders and all of that. They don't want the extensive, including their onboarding process, their expense management. They don't want an extensive part of that. So this is now where the difference comes between BC and F&O. But for all of this, upskilling in any of them is something that advise anyone to do, because there's always going to be opportunities for you to assist businesses make the most out of their time and the efforts that they put in into their businesses.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Amaka. And that brings us to the end. That brings us to the end of this class. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining, and we will see you again next week. We are having our third class next week, and we're going to see everybody again. And
Thank you,
from me, I
guys.
will say bye.
Bye.
Hi, Chema. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.